The Dodgers are coming to San Diego first, and I'm glad about that.
Okay.
I'm really glad about that. I would not want us going to LA for the first meeting this year just to get us broken in. But the tail of the tape here shows just kind of where these two teams are at right now. The Padres are in second place with a 37-27 record, and the Dodgers are, of course, in first place with a 39-27 record. And Nika, I want to point out we are tied with the Dodgers in the loss column. The only reason they're ahead of us right now is because of the wins.
Well, they play extra game.
They played a couple extra games with that Tokyo series against the Cubs this year. That's what is causing that imbalance, at least right now. But none of that matters yet. It's not September. The real important thing here is these head-to-head games, because the Padres play the Dodgers 3 games and then 4 games next week at their place, as we're going to see in a minute. I have the whole schedule printed out. But before we move on, I really just wanted to kind of set the table here before this series starts and just kind of look at how we are here, where we are, because it's radically different for both teams. The Padres are kind of getting this done with pitching. As I said, they have 12 shutouts through 64 games. That's almost a 20% shutout rate as a team. That is phenomenal. The Dodgers, as you can see, 21st in earned run average and 17th in walks and hits per innings pitched. So they're in the latter half for WHIP, and they're in the bottom third for earned run average. Whereas you look at the Padres up top, 6th in earned run average and 8th in WHIP. They're in the top third in both categories. So pitching is definitely getting it done for the Padres, where it's not so much for the Dodgers, right?
Well, they have 2 pitching staffs. The Dodgers do. And
we're going to talk about
getting
that.
into it.
The Dodgers are obviously suffering from a lot of injuries, and probably more than any other major league team could withstand. But as you look on the left, well, at least the left side of the statistical column here, when it comes to batting average and runs, the Dodgers are the cream of the crop in all of Major League Baseball. They lead in batting average as a team, and they lead in runs scored as a team. And when you lead in those 2 categories, well, you tend to outscore your opponents a lot. Now, I want to point out they were shut out on Friday, and I think they only scored 1 run on Saturday.
Yes.
So they're not immune, and they are going through some of their own funks at times. But if you look up top, it's a little bit of a different story for the Padres, who are 15th in batting average and 21st in runs scored. And the runs scored in the bottom third has really got me cause for concern. And I'm really also concerned about the batting average, if I'm being honest, because once upon a time in like the beginning of the season, the Padres were knocking on the door of the top of the batting average standings. And even when they weren't scoring a lot of runs, they were stringing together a lot of hits. Not so much the case, it seems, anymore. And that's trending in a bad direction for the Padres. But nevertheless, this is how we are here, where we are. Padres getting it done, as you can see, with pitching. Dodgers getting it done with their offense. And I don't think anyone should be surprised about that. You mentioned the Dodgers have injuries in the pitching staff. We're going to talk about all of that in a second. But if you flip ahead to the schedule, Nika, you can see this is what is on deck for the Padres remaining in July. Dodgers, 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 Diamondbacks, Diamondbacks, Diamondbacks over the weekend at their place. Then we go at LA for 4, home for Kansas City, home for Washington, before we close out the month of June, heading to the Midwest of Cincinnati and the East Coast, Philadelphia.
Tough schedule.
Tough indeed. And
tough and meaningful, because it's within their own league. Or is it a division?
A lot within their own division. I mean, the next 10 games are within their own division. And
a lot of could change, basically.
We're going to talk all about Arizona, but you can see on this screenshot here, they are 31-34 right now. They have fallen to 3 games under 500. This was just after they swept the Braves last week to get back to 500 on Thursday. So kind of crazy, the roller coaster ride that Arizona's on, and we're going to talk all about them and their injury situation in a second. But to get through the Padres section of this, definitely not easy, and we're going to find out what kind of team they are right now. You know, I feel like in some ways I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with a new energy level today than we've seen in the last couple of weeks, especially from, I'm talking about Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill, who have, Jackson's been struggling and striking out a lot more than we're accustomed to since he came off the injured list. He did have this weird string of really bad luck where he was hitting the ball hard and getting a lot of outs as a result, and the strikeouts started right after. And I feel like,
he might need to have a second adjustment.
he probably does need to make it a second adjustment at this point. The sophomore slump is
in effect.
We don't want it to last any longer.
No,
than
we
it
don't.
needs to.
We want to get back to the old Jackson. We need the old Jackson back.
And I just have this weird suspicion that Jackson and Fernando are tied a little bit, right? Like, as one goes, so will the other. They play next to each other on the field. I think they feed off of each other's energy.
Sure. There was a lot of players that were feeding off Jackson Merrill's energy because he is so young and he is so into baseball. The excitement, the new thing for him, it spreads around and everybody. It's contagious.
Well, we've just seen him, I think kind of lose a little bit of that spark
Yes.
when he's gone through this slump, and same with Fernando. And so that body language has definitely
playing a factor.
It's been communicated through the television screen to the fans at home, and we see it. We all see it, and it's hard to watch sometimes. But at the same time, I think we'd all rather see this in May and early June than seeing this in like late August and September.
Oh, definitely.
So let's just keep our fingers crossed that these two guys find it, because I have a feeling once they do, we could go on a big streak again and, push towards 20 games over 500 or thereabouts. And we know Mike Schilt traditionally is a second half post All-Star break strong manager. So we got that feather in our caps too. And we got rumors and things circulating, but I want to get back to the Padres pitching for a second. And one of the big reasons why they've been able to maintain this 10 game over 500 win-loss record as their offense has been struggling, Nika. And if you flip to the slide, we can see it's these three: Randy Vasquez, Stephen Kolek, and Ryan Bergert. I'm calling him. I don't know if it's Bergert or Bergert. I think it's Bergert. I just said the same name 3 times.
But it's not the typical threes: King, Cease, and
Darvish.
Well, Darvish has been absent. Musgrove has been absent.
No, I mean, Nick Pavetta's been fine. He had a little bit of a bad 6th inning in Milwaukee, and that's too bad. He was having a really great outing. But you push on. You got to flush it and move on. But these three, I just want to point out, they've all accumulated positive WAR as like the 3, 4, and 5 starters right now, because it's literally Cease and Pavetta. As you remember, Michael King is on the shelf. Yu Darvish is on the shelf. Joe Musgrove is out for the whole season, most likely. And so those are the 3 top tier pitchers we have on our roster, and all 3 of them are out right now.
And yet we are doing this with these 3 guys that are barely known. If you will.
Yeah. And I think I just want to point out how smart and I think ahead of the curve AJ Preller has been when it comes to pitching, because we saw a big injury this weekend for the Diamondbacks. It was announced on Friday that Corbin Burns, who is in the first year of a 6-year, $210 million contract, is having Tommy John. Just 2.5, not even months into his first season. And he's going to be out for probably 14 to 16 months. And you can do some math in your head and start to realize, that puts him at maybe pitching the end of next year, but most likely 2027.
Yep. So 2 seasons off the books.
2 seasons off the books. You already saw what happened with Jordan Montgomery and the Diamondbacks and the money that they spent on him, and now the situation that he is in with them. He's having Tommy John.
Yeah.
And he's a free agent after this season. So he can't even show anybody that he can pitch again before he gets offered another contract. He's going to have to do it through like bullpen sessions and stuff. And
tough.
Going to be a tough situation for sure. So I just want to give AJ Preller credit for not going after the big shiny objects in free agency when it comes to pitchers.
Yeah.
Nick Pavetta, 4 years for $55 million is looking like one of the steals of the century when you compare 6 years to $210 million.
That's why, the pitchers that he does find are very unknown commodity, and they kind of polish them up, and this is what we get at the end.
While you can never have enough good pitching, you also have to exhaust your entire system to find the best pitching, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to go through and look in odd places. Kyle Hart is another, the Korean baseball.
Sure. He hasn't been the starter out we were hoping for, but there's something there.
They're not all going to pan out.
Sure.
I think when you look at the Dodgers and their pitching staff of
shiny object.
20, and you look at the Padres and their full pitching staff, I think we've been much more economical with better results.
Well, when you
can't make the argument.
Right. When you have to be economical, you become more creative. That's just how it works.
I think the Padres have been way more creative in putting a competitive pitching staff together than the Dodgers have been. The Dodgers just are like, oh, well, we can just spend money. Shohei expects us to spend money. And it's like, just because you can spend money doesn't mean that you should, and doesn't mean that it's the smartest decision. And I think the Padres are proving that with these three guys, particularly Ryan Berger, 1-0, 1.26 ERA, 2 games started. He just started starting games, and he has a .977 WHIP, like under 1 through 2 starts. That's really good.
Yeah.
Stephen Kolek has even more games now. 7 games started. These are the first 7 games started of his career. He's 28 years old.
Did he pitch for other teams, or he was just a minor? He just couldn't make it.
He worked his way up. I mean, he was drafted by the Dodgers. I don't know exactly how he got to the Padres, but he was drafted in 2018.
So he's been
28.
Around.
He was 21.
21
years old when he was drafted. He went to Texas A&M University. He has been a great starter. He had a couple of bad first innings, but he got through it. He had that complete game in Colorado, which is one of the hardest places to pitch in the major leagues. So the fact that he's been able to step up, and then Randy Vasquez, not to take anything away from him, he has the highest WHIP here. He has the highest ERA of these 3 pitchers, and he's definitely the one that makes my heart race the most out there, because you just never know. And I think that's what it's funny about it. He's been effectively wild.
He has been, and we also know him from a previous season. So
he did this last year too.
Exactly. So we kind of know what we're getting with him, versus the other 2 are unknown.
Oh, absolutely. So Randy Vasquez and Stephen Kolek and Ryan Berger, keep doing your thing for the Padres right now. You are holding it together.
And Manny Machado is holding the other part of the team.
For sure. But I mean, I will welcome the rest of the offense starting to pick up these pitchers, man. These 3 deserve a little bit more run support than they've been given. And, you know, all I want to tell them is, like, when we start to score again eventually, because we will, please don't just assume that you can pitch less effectively all of a sudden.
Oh, they will. They will pitch the way they pitch.
Oh, I think if the Padres can put it together on both sides of the ball, they would run away with this division, if I'm being honest, the way the Dodgers are set up right now. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm not counting chickens before they hatch. I'm just being honest with what I see.
Yeah.
I see a Padres offense that is not playing like themselves. But I don't see that in the Dodgers, and I called this with the Dodgers pitching before the season started, so I'm not really surprised that they're not, like, tearing it up in the pitching department. We have the Dodgers' upcoming schedule, and if you look at the beginning of the month here, they are just 3-5 to start the month. The Padres 5-3 to start the month, so we've already gained 2 games on them at the start of June here, before this big epic series happens. And I want to just point out, if the Padres win 2 out of 3 of these games, they will be tied for first place when the Dodgers leave. And the Dodgers will then head home and play San Francisco before playing 4 against the Padres next week. So this is just getting started, everybody. And we play Arizona and then go to LA, and they play San Francisco and then welcome us. So we're just getting started. It's going to be an action-packed couple of weeks here into next weekend. It's going to
be nail-biting games. Well, let's say how close they are.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first meeting of the Dodgers and Padres since the NLCS last year, which still has Heartbreak City written all over it for the Padres. Of course, if we would have won that series that we were winning 2-1, many people feel like we would have gone on to win the World Series with our pitching staff set up the way it was, and it's hard to argue with that. It really is. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be for the Padres and from the baseball gods. We can only hope that this year is the year. And So, yeah, right now we're in this little, what's going to give? The Padres pitching staff or the Dodgers offense? Who's going to, going into it, I think the Dodgers offense has not been, you see the 7 runs yesterday, but the couple days before that, they're capable of being shut down by any good pitcher.
True, but they will try to play good against the Padres because it's divisional, because from last season.
Yeah.
And there's always this rivalry. So
well, I don't doubt it. Everyone's going to bring some energy.
Yeah. You got to pay up to your competition, not down.
True. But we've also seen when these situations happen, sometimes people play tight and feel each other out in the first game or two. Mm-hmm. So it could be low scoring.
It could be. It could be.
We'll wait and see. I'm excited. Nika, if you flip to the next video, we got to talk about this Dodgers pitching staff. This is their list of injuries on their pitching staff. You can see the names as you go through this. Ryan Gonsolin, Roki Sasaki, Luis Garcia, Evan Phillips, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Trinan, Blake Snell, Michael Grove, Brusdar Graterol, Kyle Hurt, Emmett Sheehan, Edgardo Henriquez, River Ryan, and Gavin Stone rounded up. Nika, can you flip it again one more time for me so we can get back to the beginning of this list? Because Tony Gonsolin is the latest victim. You might remember Tony Gonsolin started the season on the injured list for the Dodgers with back discomfort or back tightness, I guess, in spring training. And he did not pitch at all in the month of April. He was called up April 30th. So maybe he did sneak in a start in April. But he was activated on April 30th, and so he gets through 5 weeks of the season before he now goes on the IL again, and it's the same thing that we see a lot with the Dodgers, right elbow discomfort. I don't have good thoughts for him on this. I feel like he's going to be the next Tommy John victim. Whenever I hear the elbow discomfort conversation come up, it makes me think that the knife is coming out. It's
a soft setup for Tommy John.
Well, he's going to the doctor, so we'll be set up to know what happens probably sometime later today or tomorrow with the Dodgers, depending on how soon he gets in to see the doc. But, yeah, you just look at the list of injuries and the names of these injuries. Glasnow and Blake Snell alone
It's awful.
And then Roki Sasaki and Tony Gonsolin, and there's hardly anybody left. Like, you literally have Yamamoto, Dustin May, and
Kershaw.
It's about pitching. It's not about throwing.
Yeah.
And we need to get back to being about pitching again. If the Dodgers want to do anything organizationally, they should stop looking at throwers and start hiring pitchers again. They should look at their own staff and their own trainers and their own philosophies and what they are implementing on their pitchers, because it ain't working. It ain't working. You spent how much money on your team? You know what? Every trade rumor article